Hi everyone, welcome to Salesforce Topics channel. In this video, let us learn on the virtual abstract override keywords in Apex with an example. There is a core company with a base model core, and for this we have defined the class like base model core with instance variables and the instance methods like feature, which displays the list of features, and the total price method, which displays the total price of this base model core. And now company has decided to add few more features to this base model core and make it as a XYZ model core. So for this, one way is we can define a class, separate class with a XYZ model core name by having the instance variable and instance methods similar way as the base model core has. But here so much of duplication is there. This instance variables and the methods, everything is looks like same like a base model core. So this is not a correct approach. So immediately it comes to our mind that the inheritance is the best choice here. So we can extend these base model features and we can add the additional features into the derived class as like this. So here XYZ model core is extending the base model core, and here the features method displays the XYZ model features. Though the approach is correct, Apex does not allow us to extend like this a base model car and override the method like this. The reason is the class and its methods are by default final. And since this base model car is final, the extension of this class to XYZ model car is not allowed in Apex by default. And even overriding of the features method is not allowed because these methods are also by default final, which we cannot override. For example, let's make this class as final and this method as final and try to deploy this class. It will throw us errors saying that methods are by default final, classes are by default final. Since class and methods are by default final, it is not allowing us to define them as a final again explicitly. Now, without making any change on this base model core, let's try to extend this base model core in the XYZ model core, and one method which is to override the feature method of the base class. Now let's try to deploy this XYZ model core. The compiler clearly says this base model core is neither a virtual class nor abstract class to allow the extension. Similarly, the compiler is stating that the method whichever we are trying to override in the superclass is neither virtual nor abstract method. In order to override a method of the superclass, that method should be declared as abstract or virtual in the superclass. So the key learnings over here is the classes and its methods are by default final. Please note, a class is final means the functionality defined in that class is final and that cannot be extended. And we have seen that Apex is giving us a way to extend these class by using the keywords called virtual and abstract. Let us explore these two options given by Apex, that is virtual keyword and abstract keyword on the classes. First, let's look into the virtual keyword. So we apply the virtual keyword to the base class like this, virtual class base model core, and the method that we are going to override in the base class, that method also we marked it as a virtual. Now Apex allows us to create XYZ model by extending this base model. Please observe that while overriding a method, for example here the features method in the superclass, we are overriding it in the styled class. In order to override that one, we should use a keyword called override. Since base model core as marked as virtual, Apex allows us to extend this class to xyz model car, and we have used override keyword while overriding a method of the parent class. So hence now Apex allows us to deploy this class. So now let's make this class as virtual and this method as virtual and deploy this class. And in the derived class we are going to override this method. So in the derived class, let's add override keyword for this method and deploy this class. This deployment will get succeeded. I would like to show few more things around this virtual keyword on the class and virtual keyword on the methods. To show those concepts practically, let's add constructor to assign these values and deploy this class. Same way, let's add constructor in the derived class also and deploy this class. And in the anonymous editor, let's create a base model car with the price, tax, insurance like this, and create a XYZ model car with the price, tax, insurance like this, and execute this in anonymous. We'll see the output as like this: base model features and total price is 11,10,000, and then XYZ model features, the total price is 22,20,000. Here if you observe, Apex has allowed us to instantiate this base model car which is virtual. So the first key learning of virtual is virtual class can be instantiated. Second key learning of virtual keyword is overriding the virtual methods are optional in the derived class. In the base class, we have defined these features as virtual and we are overriding here. But this overriding of that method is optional. Let's remove this one and deploy this. Now execute this as anonymous. Now we can see that since we have not overridden the features method in the derived class, for this line it is printing the base model features only, that is from the super class. The third key learning of virtual keyword is virtual classes cannot have abstract methods. That means it can have the instance methods, static methods, or virtual methods, but the virtual class does not allow the abstract methods. Let's try to add this abstract method: calculate tax, and try to deploy this class. This will not allow. And the fourth key learning point of virtual keyword is override keyword is mandatory, and the method that we are overriding in the subclass should be marked as virtual in the superclass. For example, if you remove this override keyword from here and let's try to deploy, it will not allow. Similarly, let's explore the abstract keyword. For this, we mark the base class, that is base car model, as abstract like this, and the method that we are going to override, we mark it as abstract, and this abstract method cannot have the body over here. The class which is going to extend this base model car must implement this abstract method like this by using the keyword called override. Since base model car has been marked as abstract, the extension of this base model car is possible, and we are overriding the abstract method that is available in the abstract class in the derived class. So it is a valid class now. Let's come back to our base class. Let's change this as abstract from the virtual and change this method as also abstract. While we are declaring it as an abstract, we should not add the body, so remove that body and deploy this class. This derived class is still valid. We don't have to do any changes. It gets deployed without making any change. We just made our base class changes. That is, we converted from virtual to abstract. And now let's explore this abstract class to learn few more things. Now execute the same piece of code in anonymous area. We can see that abstract classes cannot be constructed. The first key learning point of the abstract is if the class is the abstract class, then we cannot instantiate that class. That means we cannot create an object for this abstract classes. The second key learning point of this abstract keyword is if we have any abstract methods inside abstract class, then the implementation of this abstract methods is mandatory in the derived classes like this. The implementation of these abstract methods, whichever we declared under abstract class, are mandatory to implement in the derived class. For example, if we don't implement this and try to deploy, it will not allow us. It displayed an error saying that the abstract method must be implemented in the derived class. The third key learning point of the abstract classes is the abstract classes can allow to have the virtual methods also like this. As mentioned in the earlier case, the overriding of virtual method is optional. The same applies to the virtual methods available inside abstract class. That means this virtual method we can override or we can simply use the functionality already defined in the parent class. For example, let's add this virtual method safety features which displays safety features. Now if you deploy this one, it will allow us to deploy. As we know, the overriding of the virtual method is optional. So here we are not going to override this safety features method. We will use as is like available in the base class, and we can call that method like this. And let's execute this piece of code. It displayed safety features. The next key learning of abstract is while overriding a method, whether we may be implementing the implementation for the abstract method or overriding the virtual method, we should use the override keyword in the derived classes. While overriding these abstract methods of abstract class or virtual methods of this abstract class, mentioning the override keyword in the derived classes is mandatory. For example, if we remove like this and try to deploy, it will not allow us to deploy this class. So in this case, we can override two kinds of method. One is abstract methods. Those we must override. There is no other option. But whereas virtual methods, we can override or we can leave without overriding that method as is in the superclass. Please note that as per the inheritance concept, when the child class extends the superclass, all the public and protected variables and instance methods will be available to the child class. So the only methods that are available in the child class to override is the public or protected methods of superclass. That means if the superclass method is private, then that is not available to override in the child class. We will get a compilation error. Please note that there is no hard rule for choosing virtual and abstract keywords for the base class. It all depends on our requirements. For example, if we have base implementation for all the methods of the class and we would want to allow that class to be extended, then we go with virtual keyword so that it can be instantiated with the base logic. And if we don't have base implementation for any of the method like this feature method over here, and you want to force the implementation of this method in the derived classes, then we go with the abstract keyword. Thank you for watching.